This is a very gay episode we have today. A very gay, celebrating the gays.
Oh, it's Pride Month.
It is Pride Month.
Also,
this is a pride-themed episode.
Men's what?
Men's wellness or...
Oh, yeah.
Something.
I saw people arguing about, like, oh, Pride Month took over, like, men's mental health awareness and all that. And I was like, both kind of gay.
It is pretty gay.
You think I'm going to therapy, dude? You think I'm a fucking fruit? I'm going to drink these problems away. You give me about 6 Busch Lights and everything feels better.
You're going to send me a therapy? I'm going to turn trans. That's what's going to happen.
That's deep, dude. What the fuck? That took such a deep turn, bro. What the fuck?
What am I?
I don't understand how we got, like, dude, you just took a hard right into the fucking guardrail of the bridge. You were just like, oh yeah, and we're going right.
I was reading Abigail Shrier before.
I don't know who that is.
I have her book upstairs.
I bet you do got
What's
books,
her fucking
dude.
book called? I got a couple books.
You're asking, I don't even know who that is.
Invisible Damage. There we go. It was this really controversial book that came out like 4 or 5 years ago. You can pull it up if you want.
Invisible
Buster.
Damage. Huh?
Invisible Damage. It's about this. This is a great thing to cover, by the way, on Pride. It's about this phenomenon that this lesbian woman came across, where these groups of like 11 to 13-year-old girls were all just coming out as trans at once. Like,
Put
just
book at the end of that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Like just all at once, like there was just this phenomenon of like, I think it was like 1,000% increase in transgenderism. No, it's Irreversible Damage. Just look up Abigail Shrier.
How the fuck do you...
Shreier.
Yeah. Just
There
saying
we go.
it
There
like
we go.
anybody knows this.
Visible Damage.
Okay, so a bunch of
Her last
kids,
book's kind of bullshit,
a bunch
I
of
think,
kids
but-
are coming out about what now?
So a bunch of kids are coming out as trans, like at the same time, like groups of like 4 or 5, 11 to 13-year-old girls just all coming up like in class or whatever, or to their parents or whatever, and just being like, I'm trans. Like it seems to be like in that case specifically more of like a cultural, like, okay, kind of just jumping on the bandwagon type of thing. So this was like a big controversy back in 2020, 2021. She recently wrote a book called Bad Therapy. I haven't read the book. From what I heard, but it's kind of bullshit. So take all this with a grain of salt. But I do own a copy upstairs, and Molly hates it. I haven't read it though because I can never get into it.
So is it like talking about it's a bad thing or a good thing or?
I mean, she's looking at it as a negative, yes.
The lady who wrote the book?
The lady who wrote the book. I mean, not to trans specifically, just this specific trend of like underage people, like all kind of coming out as trans. And then, when you throw in
I have a
surgeries
very
and all that.
solid theory as to why that shit is happening too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, the thing is, kids need to be kept in a sort of a box. I don't necessarily believe in keeping kids sheltered from information, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
if you're gonna teach kids about mom and dad loving each other and having kids and where babies come from, then I think it's also notable for kids to know what gay is.
Sure, yeah.
But kids tend to go through phases. I mean, you even go through phases in your young 20s. You go through phases, you're still figuring out who you are. And we have one side of people who are like, you're a kid, you don't know anything, you don't know who you are, shut the fuck up, I'm right, listen to me. Yeah. And then on the other side, you got, okay, well, if that's what you think, then that must be right. And it's like, whoa, okay, maybe you're not trans, maybe you're just a growing kid taking in a lot of different information from social media, from the fucking news, from whatever you're surrounded by.
Sure.
And maybe you're just confused. That's not saying everybody's confused, obviously, but like because I mean, you see it all the time with chicks. They're like, I'm gay, and then a year later they're married with kids, and it's like, I thought you were gay. It's like, oh yeah, well, I'm not gay anymore. It's like, are you actually even fucking gay then, bud? Like, what the fuck? You just took it for a test run? Like, what the fuck? And so, yeah, there's just, I mean, that's not, I'm not going to, like, whatever, you know? If you have to do it, if that's what you have to do, if that's what you felt like you were, and then it changes, you know? Like, kids just need to understand. That's why it's a big thing not to let these fucking kids make huge irreversible changes, though.
Well, that was what the point I was trying to get to is like, I think the illusion, I mean, why this is called irreversible damage. I mean, it's not just kids coming out and saying this, right? I mean, it's them, you know, in the U.S., I know it's happening, but in other countries, I think it's happening more even, you know, getting hormone blockers or, you know, like even like chemical castration in some cases.
Yeah.
There are like wild things happening, and you know, you can argue like how much it is, like really is, or how much it's overblown. Fine, you can have that debate, but I mean, the fact that it's even happening at all, I think it needs to be addressed. Like, I think people, I went way too serious on this.
No, absolutely. No, I like what you're talking about. Like, it's an important topic of like things that are going on in the world and things that damage. Not saying this does or doesn't. It's just things that damage our youth, damage the future of all living beings, of the human race as one. So it's like, it's important. It's important for us to, I'm absolutely. I think that there is not as big of a percentage of people that support kids under the age of 18 being able to get hormone blockers. There's a large percentage for sure, but like the media overblows it by a long shot, dude. They make it seem like it's fucking everybody. If you don't fight now, everything you believe in is gonna leave and God's gonna destroy us.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? Is like I remember seeing this thing on Twitter where it was like the devil was sewing a pride flag. You know what I mean? Like there's a when it comes to this subject specifically, it is so hard to have a nuanced opinion. It is either there's no such thing as trans, you're a sinner, or not even necessarily like the full blown like trans kid stuff, but just like, you know, whatever. Right? Like you're not even necessarily whatever, but at the very least, you're not going to question your side. I think that's like the biggest problem, like with the LGBTQ stuff is like, you know, I have no problem with that identity, but when you have things like, you know, trans with kids or like, you know, here's another thing, trans in prisons, right? You know, men identifying as women and then going to female prisons and having a rape fest, literally. Like,
and it's happened multiple times.
Exactly. Too. And if you're just going to actively ignore that, like that's a problem.
It
right?
comes
despite
it comes down to the same thing though. If this is something that we're going to as a society agree upon and let into our society, then we have to reroute our society correctly in order to make it fit and make it work. Like people are all like, well, what fucking bathrooms do they use? Well, create new fucking bathrooms. You know what I mean? It's like the same thing with sports. I'm like, I think the only way to make this whole trans in sports things work and truly work is if you make trans leagues. Somebody's gonna have to. Some trans person with some money is gonna have to put.
Here's the problem with that, man. They don't like that. The trans community doesn't like that because they want to be identified. As either a man or a male. Yeah. So if you're doing that in their eyes, like you're discriminating against them. And you know, like I've said, I don't really have a strong opinion about that because I don't really give a shit about trans in sports. Like whatever.
I mean, I'm sure that I'm just using it to like it's like the same thing, but like we have to make a new lane, and that I mean, otherwise it's just like how are you fucking expecting this? I don't know. You think if it was that big of a problem for them to have their own league or their own bathroom, then it'd be like, okay, well then why don't women and men just share the same shit? Why don't we put WNBA players in the NBA?
Let's put Caitlin Clark in the NBA. Come on.
I mean, she might do well. There's obviously going to be a percentage of women that are going to fucking be stars and be superstars and fucking kill the game. But, like, a lot of y'all are going to get fucked up.